I was knee-deep in spreadsheets. Headphones on, when my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in a while, Mom. I stared at it for a second, debating whether to answer. Lately, her calls were either awkward small talk or oddly timed requests, usually for my help with something Melissa had messed up. Still, I picked up. Lauren, sweetheart, her voice was unusually bright, like she was rehearsing cheerfulness. Your birthday's coming up next Saturday, right? Your father and I have decided to host a family dinner at our house. Just close relatives, something special for your big day. I blinked. You're throwing me a birthday party? Of course. 34 is a big milestone. We already called Aunt Beth and Uncle Ray. Everyone's so excited to celebrate you. I wasn't sure what stunned me more, my mother remembering my birthday or the idea of her planning anything for me that didn't involve Melissa. I'd already made low-key plans with a few friends to try the new Mediterranean place downtown. But saying no felt like rejecting the only shred of attention I'd received in years. That's nice, I said cautiously. Thanks, Mom. Great. It'll be just like old times. I ended the call and sat frozen for a few moments, still holding my phone like it might explode. I couldn't remember the last time my parents had done something just for me. Growing up, my birthdays were an afterthought. One year I got a half-eaten cake because Melissa had a meltdown the night before and my mom forgot to bake mine. Another year, I got a generic card from the pharmacy and a $20 bill. While Melissa got a brand new iPhone 2 months later for being brave during her breakup. She always was the golden child. Stunning, unpredictable, chaotic in a way that somehow made people love her more fiercely. She dropped out of college twice. Married a hedge fund manager at 25. Divorced him 2 years later after wrecking his Porsche. And still my parents acted like she walked on water. Me? I went to school, got a degree, worked my way up at a finance firm. And just last month, I bought my first home, a modest bungalow in a quiet neighborhood. Paid in full with the savings I'd scraped together over a decade. No help from anyone. I wanted to believe the sudden interest in my birthday was a peace offering. Maybe they'd seen how hard I worked. Maybe they were finally proud of me. I let myself hope, for a minute. But something about Mom's voice nagged at me. Too bright, too rehearsed. Still, I shook it off. Maybe they were changing. Maybe things really would be different. I wore a soft smile as I closed my laptop and looked around the house I now called mine. Maybe this year, 34 would finally mean something. Maybe this family dinner would be the turning point. I had no idea I was walking straight into a trap. Saturday came faster than I expected. I pulled into my parents' driveway just before 6. The familiar 2-story home looking exactly the same as it had for the past 20 years, except now. Melissa's luxury SUV was parked front and center like a monument to her ongoing drama. I took a deep breath, adjusted my coat, and grabbed the bottle of wine I'd brought. The house was buzzing when I walked in, laughter, clinking glasses, and the unmistakable scent of Mom's baked ziti. For a moment, it felt almost normal. Lauren, my mother beamed, pulling me into a tight hug. You look so beautiful. Thanks, I said, genuinely caught off guard. Compliments weren't exactly her specialty. My father gave me a one-armed hug and a nod. Happy birthday, kiddo. Relatives I hadn't seen in ages were scattered around the living room. Aunt Beth waved from the couch. Uncle Ray raised his glass. For the first time in a long time, it actually felt like someone had gone out of their way for me. Then I saw her, Melissa, in a form-fitting designer dress that looked more appropriate for a gala than a family dinner. Holding court in the corner like some kind of socialite queen. Her makeup flawless. Her hair swept into a messy bun that probably took an hour to perfect. She saw me and gave a slow smile. The kind that didn't reach her eyes. Well, look who finally decided to show up. I ignored the jab and walked over. Hey, Melissa. She sipped her wine. Happy birthday, big sis. 34, right? Wild. Yeah, time flies. She looked me up and down. Then added, that dress is cute. Very, you. Translation. Safe. Boring. Not a threat. Dinner was served at 7. We gathered around the long dining table. Everyone chatting and passing plates. My mom had even made the garlic knots I used to beg for as a kid. I almost let myself enjoy it. Lauren, Aunt Beth said warmly, your mom tells me you just bought your own place? I did, I said, smiling. Closed last month. Little 2-bedroom in Greenfield. That's amazing, she said. You must be so proud. I am. Took me 10 years to save up. But I finally did it. There were murmurs of congratulations around the table. Even my dad gave a nod of approval. But when I looked at Melissa, her smile had tightened. Greenfield, she said, isn't that a bit plain? I raised an eyebrow. It's quiet, safe. I like it. Melissa shrugged. I just couldn't imagine living somewhere like that. But I guess it makes sense for you. I didn't rise to the bait. I'd learned long ago that arguing with her was like trying to wrestle smoke. Dessert came. Chocolate cake with candles. Everyone sang. My mom actually took a photo. It was the first birthday I'd felt visible. After the cake, people started leaving. Hugs. Thank yous. See you soons. By 8:30, it was just me, Melissa, and our parents. Sit. Lauren, my dad said suddenly, motioning toward the sofa. We want to talk to you. The warmth drained from my face. Here it comes. Melissa flopped into the armchair, looking strangely eager. My parents sat across from me. Hands folded, faces serious. What's going on? I asked. It's about Melissa. Mom began, her voice gentle. Too gentle. She's going through a rough patch. Dad added. I glanced at her. She didn't look rough. She looked like she'd just walked off a runway. Okay, she's been dealing with some financial strain. Mom said. The divorce hit her harder than we expected. And the business. Melissa chimed in, looking down at her nails. The wellness studio isn't doing well. Landlord's hiking the rent. I might lose it. Sorry to hear that, I said carefully. But what does that have to do with me? My father cleared his throat. We were thinking, you could help. Temporarily. Just until Melissa gets back on her feet. My stomach tightened. Help how? Mom leaned in. Your house. You bought it outright, right? No mortgage? My blood went cold. You're not seriously. Hear us out. Dad interrupted. You could sell it. Use part of the money to help Melissa with her business. Maybe get her into a new apartment. She'd pay you back. Mom added quickly. Of course. I stared at them, waiting for someone to laugh. For someone to say, just kidding. But no one did. You want me to sell the house I worked 10 years to buy so Melissa can, what? Save her luxury yoga studio? It's not just yoga. Melissa snapped. It's a holistic wellness brand. I stood up, hands shaking. Are you out of your minds? Don't be dramatic, Mom said sharply. It's just a house. It's not just a house. I shot back. It's mine. I built that future from scratch. Alone. Melissa stood too. You act like you're better than everyone just because you saved money. Newsflash. Not everyone has your boring little life. Lauren, enough. I said. You made your choices. You blew through money. You married a guy for his bank account and left him when the balance dropped. That's not my fault. I needed help, Melissa said, her voice rising. And you're supposed to be my sister. And I'm supposed to sacrifice my security for you? Again? Mom stood, voice clipped. If you walk out of this house tonight without agreeing to help your sister, don't bother coming back. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who had once told me I was too serious, too plain, too ambitious, who never clapped at my graduation, who once forgot my birthday entirely because Melissa had a hangover. Okay, I said. Then I picked up my coat and walked out the door. The night air was sharp against my skin. But I barely felt it. My thoughts spun faster than my feet could carry me to the car. I didn't cry. Not yet. I was too stunned, too numb. I sat behind the wheel in silence, hands gripping the steering wheel, staring at the darkened windshield. The words echoed in my head like a broken record. If you walk out of this house tonight without agreeing to help your sister, don't bother coming back. They didn't even hesitate. I didn't call anyone when I got home. Didn't scroll social media or pour a glass of wine. I walked straight into my small, cozy living room, sat down on the floor, and exhaled. The apartment was quiet, peaceful, mine. Every piece of furniture had a memory attached to it, paid for with late nights, double shifts, and skipped vacations. This space was sacred, and they wanted me to trade it in like it meant nothing. The next morning, I turned off my phone. That silence? It was golden. By Tuesday, I had over a dozen missed calls. A few from Mom, even more from Dad, and Melissa had sent me 4 long texts that started syrupy and quickly turned sour. "You're blowing this out of proportion. I can't believe you're punishing me for needing help. After all I've been through. And you can't even sell a house?" And finally, "Don't expect me to ever speak to you again." I deleted every message without reading the rest. But it was Wednesday morning when the dam broke. I was sipping coffee in the break room at work when my coworker and closest friend, Priya, walked in with a cautious expression. "Hey," she said gently, "you okay?" I gave her a small nod, not trusting myself to say much. She hesitated, then handed me her phone. "I think you need to see this." It was a Facebook post from Melissa. Public, tagged with our parents. A smiling picture of her holding a yoga mat and a green smoothie in front of a sunny window. The caption made my stomach turn. When your own family turns their back on you in your darkest hour, you learn who really has your back. I'm not bitter, just stronger. This baby is gonna be fine, without toxic people in our lives. Hashtag new beginnings. Hashtag some people only care about money. There were already dozens of comments. "Stay strong, girl. You deserve better. Can't believe your own sister would do that." I scrolled down and saw a reply from my mother. "We're here for you, sweetheart. Some people will never understand what family means." It was like being slapped in the face. "They're trying to make me the villain." I whispered, more to myself than to Priya. "Want me to reply for you?" she asked. Half joking but half serious. I shook my head. "No, that's exactly what they want." A reaction, but something inside me snapped. Not in anger, in clarity. They had rewritten the story, again. Just like they always had. Melissa was the victim. I was the cold, greedy sister. The ungrateful daughter. The one who dared to set boundaries and was punished for it. I opened my laptop that night and started writing. Not a post. Not a reply. A letter. To Mom, Dad, and Melissa. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me why I've always relied on myself. For confirming that my success makes you uncomfortable. For teaching me, once and for all, that unconditional love has always come with conditions in this family. Melissa, I hope your business finds its footing. I hope your next Instagram post makes you feel seen. And I hope your next new beginning is one you can manage without needing to destroy someone else's peace to get there. Mom, Dad, don't worry about inviting me to holidays. I already have my own traditions now. They involve quiet mornings, homemade pancakes, and people who don't see me as a resource. I won't be replying to your messages. And I won't be selling my house. I earned this life, every bit of it, and I'm finally going to live it without guilt. Lauren, I didn't send it, but I printed it out and folded it neatly, slipping it into the back of my journal. A reminder, a shield. The next weekend, I canceled the $500 monthly transfer I had been quietly sending to my parents since their furnace broke last winter. They never asked for it outright. But I'd felt obligated. That obligation was gone now. I spent the evening repainting the guest bedroom. A soft sage green, peaceful, alive, and when I lay down in bed that night, I slept better than I had in years. A week passed. Then 2. No calls, no texts, no sudden knocks on my door. For once, silence wasn't a threat, it was a gift. At work, I thrived, freed from the emotional weight I'd carried for years. I found myself laughing more, thinking clearer. I pitched a campaign that landed us our biggest client of the quarter. And my boss pulled me aside afterward. "Lauren, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You've got your fire back." I smiled, not bothering to explain the real reason. I'd stopped setting myself on fire to keep others warm. But the peace didn't last forever. It was a Thursday morning when my coworker Lucas peeked into my office. Looking uneasy. "Hey, there's someone downstairs asking for you." I raised an eyebrow. "Who?" An older woman. Says she's your mother." My stomach clenched. I walked to the lobby with the same numb dread I used to feel before school presentations. My mother was standing near the front desk. clutching her purse with white-knuckled fingers. She looked tired, no makeup. A worn sweater I didn't recognize. Eyes that darted the moment she saw me. Lauren, she breathed, as if my name physically hurt to say. Can we talk? We're talking, I replied coolly. She glanced at the receptionist and leaned closer. Somewhere private? I shook my head. Say what you came to say. Or I'm going back upstairs. Her jaw clenched. Fine. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. It's a letter. From your father. He didn't want to come in person. I didn't reach for it. Melissa's struggling, she added quickly. She's not doing well. She's an adult, I said. And for the record, so am I. She might lose the store. She whispered, her voice cracking. And the baby, he's been sick. A flicker of something twisted in my chest. But I pushed it down. You asked me to give up my home. I said. You told me I didn't deserve to be your daughter. You humiliated me, and then tried to turn everyone else against me. Do you even remember that? Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Melissa didn't just make a mistake. I continued. She weaponized our family. And you helped her. She's your sister. My mother pleaded. I finally took the envelope. Not out of trust, but because I wanted this conversation to be over. You need to leave, I said. And don't come to my job again. The receptionist watched her shuffle out the glass doors. I stood in the lobby for a moment longer, holding the letter like it might bite me. Then I dropped it in the trash on my way back up. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called Aunt Miriam. She had always been the quiet one in the family. My father's older sister, a retired librarian who never married. She sent me a birthday card every year with a crisp $20 bill tucked inside. Even after I turned 30. When she picked up, her voice lit up in surprise. Lauren, dear, what a lovely surprise. We talked for over an hour. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, without trying to defend anyone. And when I finished, she simply said, I'm proud of you. Those 4 words undid me. It was the first time anyone in my family had ever said them. The next morning, a package arrived at my door. No return label. Inside was a small silver frame with an old photo of me at 5 years old, grinning with ice cream all over my face. Tucked behind it was a note in neat cursive. You were always enough. Never forget that. Aunt Miriam. I placed it on my nightstand. The silence from my parents stretched on. Melissa didn't post as much anymore. I assumed the business wasn't doing well. And part of me, an old, bruised part, wanted to reach out. But I didn't. Because I was building something now. Something new. My own version of family. Saturday afternoons became brunch with Priya and her wife. I joined a local community theater, not to act, but to help backstage. I started teaching a free workshop for women looking to break into marketing. It filled my soul in a way nothing else ever had. And slowly, piece by piece, I stopped feeling like I had something to prove. Because the truth is, I never did. 2 months later, I was standing in my kitchen, sipping coffee by the window, when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something made me answer. Hello? There was a pause. Then a quiet voice said, Lauren, it's Melissa. I didn't respond. I just stared out at the street, watching a neighbor walk her dog. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. She continued, her voice unsteady. But I didn't know who else to call. You could have called Mom and Dad. I said flatly. They're not speaking to me either. She whispered. I said nothing. After everything, after I lost the store. They cut me off. Said I embarrassed them. That I ruined their standing with the family. I exhaled slowly. What do you want, Melissa? There was a long silence. Then, I'm scared. She started crying, real, ragged tears. Not the performative sniffles I remembered from our childhood. The baby's been in and out of urgent care. I'm behind on rent. I don't have anyone. I burned every bridge. Her voice cracked again. Even you. I leaned against the counter, my free hand gripping the edge. You didn't just burn bridges, I said quietly. You stood on the other side and poured gasoline on me while you lit the match. I know, she choked. I was horrible. I thought if I could get the apartment, maybe I could prove I wasn't a failure. That I could finally be the daughter they loved. I blinked, stunned by her honesty. But I see it now. I see what I did. And I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed to say it. She didn't ask for money. She didn't even ask to come over. She just apologized. For the first time in her life. My sister sounded like someone who was finally facing herself in the mirror. I told her I needed time. She said she understood. After the call ended, I stood in the quiet for a long time. Then I picked up the photo Aunt Miriam had sent me, the one of me as a little girl, smiling with ice cream on my chin, and I asked myself what that version of me would have wanted. She would have wanted someone to be kind, but also strong. I didn't know what the future held for me and Melissa. Maybe we'd never be close. Maybe it would take years. But maybe healing didn't have to mean returning to what was. Maybe it could mean building something new. On better ground. The next morning, I mailed her a box. Inside, a book on starting over, a warm blanket, and a letter that simply read, "This is not forgiveness, but it is a beginning." And for the first time in a very long time, I felt free. This story reminds us that true strength often lies in setting boundaries, even with the people we love most. Lauren's journey isn't just about betrayal, but about reclaiming her worth, choosing self-respect over obligation, and finding peace on her own terms. If this story resonated with you, drop a 2 in the comments. If it didn't quite land, type 7. We welcome all perspectives. And if you enjoy powerful stories like this one, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Reddit Story for more tales that speak to the heart.